I'm a working parent.
I'm a local singer-songwriter.
I am Egyptian American, child of immigrants.
I am a poet and an author.
I'm with HRM Health and a family physician.
I am a father. I am an activist.
I think it's really important for people to know that there is a life where they can too be happy and be resilient and be all of who they are.
Nobody really wants to just be tolerated. We want to be accepted or celebrated.
I always hope that our presence as a church encourages people to realize they can be true to their identity.
It was so empowering, so freeing. You realize that there are lots of people like you.
That's where Pride started, is by saying we are here, we are queer, and we ain't going nowhere.
When I come over here to Charlotte Pride, I feel safe to be myself. I feel safe to make mistakes, feel safe to ask questions.
It's hard to imagine now the degree back then that gay and lesbian people simply were not spoken of. Nobody was out at that time publicly, or almost nobody.
Don King was one of the first Charlotte gays to come out of the closet.
The gay movement is political and social, it's not sexual.
Don King. Back in the day, Don King was the out gay man in Charlotte, and I was the out lesbian.
He started a lot of things and got a lot of things going. Queen City Coordinators, QCQ.
Charlotte's very first Pride, it was June of 1981, mainly at UNC Charlotte. Around 100 people showed up.
Which is a lot of people for a word of mouth. And it also had a corporate sponsor too. Budweiser was its corporate sponsor.
So in 1982, I thought, gee, it seems like this should be more public. Although it was in a public space here in Park Road Park, it was not publicized. It was outside the gay community. About 120 or so people to turn out. The next year, we ran a quarter-page ad in the Charlotte Observer, not for the park event, because again, we were not publicizing that, but simply to acknowledge Gay Pride Week.
The newspaper ad was funded by a group of homosexual organizations in Charlotte that say they are concerned about the civil rights of their members.
That little quarter-page ad did really well. So in 1984, we wanted to take it to the next level.
Hey, Jerry, it says here that this is Gay Lesbian Pride Week.
We went to 2 radio stations in town to purchase radio time. And we were told, sure, no problem. And then it got down to, what's it for? And we're like, well, it's for Gay Pride Week.
The answer, of course, was no. The reason being they felt it was too controversial a subject.
The young man is Darrell Logsdon. The group he represents is the Queen City Coordinators.
We had no budget at all whatsoever, but they didn't know that. So we went to the city to ask to buy ads on city buses. And kind of a similar conversation.
In fact, as Logsdon suspected, he was lied to. There was space available.
Those events, while small by today's standards, I think they were significant just because they happened. At that same time, that's when the AIDS crisis started to hit.
Dave Castro, Michael DeSantis.
It was in mid-'80s in Charlotte.
Al Rosen.
A lot of things, a lot of outlook shifted from work for advocacy to work for survival.
Gaten Young.
I stopped counting people at 25 that I knew that had died. And a lot of people have bigger numbers than that, but I just stopped counting.
Also in the late 80s, North Carolina had had a statewide Pride event for some time, but it was usually based in the Triangle area. And in true Charlotte form, we wanted to show that, oh, we could do it better. So in 1992, a local organizing committee was formed here in Charlotte.
And Dan Kirsch and I were the co-chairs.
We don't want problems to happen, and that's not what this is about.
Dan was a dear friend.
The people coming from around North Carolina are more conservative by nature.
State Pride was a huge success.
It's just important to let the community know that we're normal people with good values.
And it was the biggest march in the state at the time, with about 5,000 people.
After the State Pride, then the next year was Out Charlotte, that focused on culture. And they went on for a number of years.
So between 2001, 2013, you have the festival going on and continuing to go on and grow. And then 2013, Charlotte Pride had their first parade. We had 80,000 attendees.
Charlotte Pride is actually gigantic.
Last year, 275,000 people in attendance. It's a place to feel accepted.
I grew up in a small town. I really wanted something charming, so I started exploring Charlotte's old neighborhoods. It does date back into the 1800s. It was built originally around Johnson C. Smith College. It's a very diverse, emerging neighborhood.
It was still the West Side, so if you talk to someone from Charlotte, they're like, yeah, it's the West Side, I'm not going over there.
It was apparent that kind of the one way to fix up the neighborhood was to bring your friends in and try to tour other people around. So that's what I started doing. Probably a Friday or Saturday night, I was sitting out in the porch in a rocking chair, and he came up and introduced himself.
We just hit it off.
I said, do you want to help renovate a house that I have? And we decided to do that together.
Ended up buying pretty much all of the houses on this block, started redoing them one at a time. If you go out of my front porch, pretty much every new house that you can see, with the exception of maybe one or two, we've built. So it makes me feel good to tell people that, no, it's new construction, but we didn't want it to stand out like it didn't belong in the community.
I think it's important to respect kind of the honor and honor the neighborhood, you know, where it came from. And it's important to me because that's what was charming to begin with.
As things improve, so do property values, so do taxes, which also are really hard on original neighbors and a lot of the older community.
I'm Brenda Norman, and I've been in my home 50 years.
And I'm Wanda Lowry, and I've been in my home for 35 years, but I've been in the neighborhood 54 years. White people moved out, then black people moved in, and then eventually all the white people left, most the older ones, and then it filled back up with black people again.
And now it's going back the way it was in the beginning. What goes around comes around.
It's a big mix of older original neighbors that have been here for 50 plus years, plus a lot of new residents.
Unless you're told or you're just out there watching, you never know. Everybody get up and go to work except us. Yeah. We can sit on the porch, drink our coffee, read our paper, whatever.
And they were very welcoming. Like, they had no hesitation about two gay kids coming in and moving in and building houses.
Whether they're gay or straight, if they're nice, they're nice. That's the way we feel about them.
Everybody got to have a place to stay. So why not in my neighborhood? I call it my neighborhood because I was here longer, okay?
It takes effort to create a community.
Really just like to see the community continue to evolve.
I think that people should be good neighbors, and no matter where they live, I think there's a lot of great neighborhoods. This is where I chose to call home, but I think it's the best neighborhood.
We're so glad that you are joining us here this morning at Myers Park Baptist Church.
Eventually the church made a statement in 2000 that they were going to be a welcoming and affirming congregation. And then we were summarily kicked out of the North Carolina State Baptist Convention, the Southern Baptists of the state of North Carolina, and it said evicted on the front page of the Charlotte Observer.
We're already called the Alphabet Mafia sometimes. So lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning. Sometimes you see I for intersex, A for asexual. I don't think there's a way to be disrespectful if you say LGBT or LGBTQ+. Some say LGBTQIA. It really is just a shorthand for the umbrella over the community. Queer can be a term that someone uses if that lesbian or gay doesn't fit. I identify as queer because it says to other people that I am in this community, meaning I'm not straight. I'm Sarah, and I am Egyptian American, child of immigrants, a social worker, a spouse, a sister, and I'm the executive director of Time Out Youth, and I'm bisexual.
We're so glad that you are joining us here this morning at Myers Park Baptist Church.
And eventually the church made a statement in 2000 that they were going to be a welcoming and affirming congregation. And then we were summarily kicked out of the North Carolina State Baptist Convention, the Southern Baptists of the state of North Carolina. And it said evicted on the front page of the Charlotte Observer when we were kicked out. I identify as a straight, cis, white man who is in the cause of fighting for social justice for all people. I am a father, I am an activist, I'm a civil rights organizer, and I am a co-conspirator for LGBTQ rights and inclusivity. Just trying to get the final touches on this. So it's been a long journey for me. I grew up in an evangelical community, and I did not have progressive views on LGBTQ folks when I was growing up in the church. But the thing that changed me was not reading any theologian. It was an LGBTQ couple, a lesbian couple that met my wife and my family, and they would come over, and she said, look, a lot of people think this is something that I chose. Why would I choose to be hated by my family and by society? Why would I choose that?
And while I believe that the intense focus on sexual purity has been a colossal distraction from the real problems that we face as a country.
That had a massive difference in my life. It shook me out of my rigid thinking night and day.
My name is the Reverend Tara Gibbs. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a black, bisexual, queer, lesbian, cis woman.
Love God.
I asked the question that many people ask, right, is if you could do anything and be paid, what would it be? And for me, it was, gosh, I wish Sunday school teachers got paid because I would love to be a full-time Sunday school teacher. I shared that with a counselor and a friend, and they were like, do you want to be a minister? Maybe that's the closest version we have.
We are open to all and closed to none. We believe that God's call is given to all people.
Yeah, this church is definitely a gem in the South, right? We're in the heart of the Bible Belt. I'm so glad that this space is here, not just for myself, but like I said, for my youth who are questioning, for their families who are questioning, to know that in the middle of the Bible Belt, there's at least one church, one place where you can know and feel the love of God in who you are and how you identify.
I identify as a woman who's over 60, who I'm African American. I am a lesbian. I also, that's one of my many identities. I'm a proud lesbian. I always hope that our presence as a church encourages people to realize they can be true to their identity. We can step out on that stage, be it in the parade, be it at the booth, that we have a space that's going to encourage people to turn back to God. You have to keep your mind open to welcoming people as they are, who they are. and their love of God is something not to be questioned.
I think the thing that moved me the most is being with a family, while their son was going through surgery, top surgery. Walking on that journey, having them invite me into their life in that very sensitive moment. And this is a family that wasn't always affirming of LGBTQ folks either. So they were on their own theological and spiritual journey. I was already felt like I was like an advocate and an activist and a co-conspirator with LGBTQ people. But then I felt like I was family. And it's a totally different fight when you're in the family.
I've always realized that I'm not like other people. I'd always spent my whole life feeling not like all the other kids. I started suffering from fairly significant depression. And I realized pretty early on what that depression was from. And it was because of the fact that I couldn't live authentically. I was so afraid, even with privacy laws. People say, oh, you need to go see someone about your depression. And I was like, yeah, but I can't, because I can't have a conversation about that without admitting that I'm trans. And if I admit I'm trans, I could lose my whole world.
Everyone, when they come to a healthcare provider, wants to be seen and understood for who they are.
About 20% of LGBT individuals experience some form of discrimination in the medical space. And what that does is, I'm not going to tell anything. I'm only going to come to the doctor when it's an emergency.
When I was growing up, I didn't have a doctor who understood me as a gay man. There were a lot of things that I had to teach my doctor about in terms of healthcare and medications that might be indicated for me.
I felt nervous and afraid to tell my doctor that I was gay. So all of my doctors growing up, they never knew.
I think when you have patients who have been marginalized, who've been excluded from the health system, and they finally find a place that they feel safe, there's nothing more rewarding. And we know that when patients are cared for by providers who look like them or who are part of their communities, that they often receive better care and have better health outcomes.
A friend of mine who's an internist who does a lot of trans care, and so I made an appointment to see him, and I told him what was going on. Eventually I made a plan. I'm like, no, you need to actually you need to actually start living authentically, period. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'm Ashlyn Von Cleef. I am a cardiologist for 26 years. I'm a parent to 2 loving sons who mean the world to me. And I'm also a trans woman.
We were super excited when Charlotte announced that we would have a Pride. And after the first year of programming, we noticed that there didn't seem to be offerings for Black and brown people, right? In the entertainment, in the programming. We decided to establish Charlotte Black Pride in 2005.
In those early days, Charlotte Pride really did drop the ball, and we worked really hard to rectify that.
The time is here. It's 96.1 with Miguel and Holly, and I have to do it like that every time. I'm Miguel. I'm a friend. I'm a brother. I'm a husband. I am an on-air radio host, and I'm gay. Holly, it's Queen's Feast Charlotte's Restaurant Week. I've always felt that if you're not authentic, your audience can pick it up. They won't know exactly what feels off, but they'll feel something is off. Miguel, you are a black man from Atlanta, Georgia. What the heck are you doing loving Nickelback? To me, pride means walking in your authentic truth and not being afraid to share who you are. To me also, pride means willing to speak against those who don't want you to walk in your authentic truth. And not everybody wants to do that, and that's okay. But to me, that's where pride started, is by saying we are here, we are queer, and we ain't going nowhere. That's what pride means to me.
So 2023 Black Pride theme is Black Renaissance, made for now. And the thing that my co-leaders and I came to realize is that there is no better time than now to be African American and LGBTQ in Charlotte. I'm a native of Miami, Florida. I grew up with people who were openly gay and lesbian in my family. So coming to Charlotte was a bit of a culture shock. This would have been in the late 90s, early 2000s, and Charlotte culturally was a different place than it is right now. And so I was struck by the invisibility, particularly of Black LGBTQ folk. And at the time, the only time I saw people who lived and loved like me were at nightlife events, you know, not in commonplace places. So I sought to make a difference and do something to change that for our community. My name is Jermaine Nakia Lee. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm a local singer, songwriter, playwright, director, producer, but my most important gig is that I'm a dad. I identify as gay and cisgender. We were super excited when Charlotte announced that we would have a Pride. And after the first year of programming, we noticed that there didn't seem to be offerings for Black and brown people, right? In the entertainment, in the programming. And so year 2 and year 3 and year 4, we offered to provide programming for them pro bono. We would do all of the work. So after about 3 years of soliciting them and not getting any response back, or not getting a genuine response back, we decided to establish Charlotte Black Pride in 2005.
He's exactly right. Charlotte Pride failed in a lot of ways. You know, our community is diverse, we're not monolithic, and it's really important to make sure that every voice is represented. And in those early days, Charlotte Pride really did drop the ball, and we've worked really hard to rectify that. And we consider our relationship with Charlotte Black Pride to be a lot better. We're very much sibling organizations now.
The co-founders of Charlotte Black Pride are Damon Blackman, Monica Simpson, Corey Handy, and myself. At the time, we were all movers and shakers in the community. Charlotte Black Pride is a cultural institution at its heart. And so in the same way I attend the Greek Festival every year, and the Latin Festival every year, and the Renaissance Festival every year, we want people of all walks of life to come and celebrate African American LGBT culture with us.
It's important because that just, it's a way of saying, like, I see you, I respect, you know, how you identify. You don't know what people's pronouns are just by looking at them. So introducing yours and then getting theirs is definitely a good practice to be able to be in an affirming space to make it safe. And it's okay if you do, you know, use the wrong pronoun to apologize, but keep it moving. Don't keep harping on the fact that, oh, I'm so sorry, I, you know, used the wrong pronoun. If pronouns, you're still practicing them, it's not necessarily your thing, stick with their name. That's the easiest way, just stick with their name. My name is Jasmine, my pronouns are she and her, and I'm a godmother, a poetry lover, a daughter, a friend, and I'm a lesbian.
You've made it to the end of pregnancy. Guess what? This is the easy part. Your oldest child, off to school now, surrounded by friends, but not quite fitting in with the girls or the boys, becoming more withdrawn, sneaking off to play with your makeup, then suddenly bursting with the weight of his secret. The world will stop for a moment when he tells you he needs to wear girls' clothes. I'm Shenna. I'm a working parent, a runner, a volunteer, and the mother of a transgender child. To the end of pregnancy. Guess what? This is the easy part. Once that baby is born, things get a lot louder and messier. But every sleepless night and day of wailing is worth it. You'll marvel at the love you feel. There's just so much. You'll also marvel at how quickly your baby changes. You'll always be watching, keeping ahead of the dangers that could be in reach. You'll notice how your toddler is into girl things. It's so cute. He doesn't know yet. They aren't for him. But they can be. You won't limit your child. You'll buy princess dresses and tiaras and all the things you didn't expect when the sonogram announced a baby boy. When you are lucky enough to do this a second time, with a second "it's a boy" sonogram, you'll feel like a pro. And as that baby boy grows, you'll note some differences. This child won't want a tiara unless it can be used to dig in the dirt. This child will want all the trucks that your first one never glanced at. You'll notice some other things, how your oldest will ask when he can be a girl. If he grows his hair out, that will do the trick, right? This is one of those phases you'll think. Then you will offer another haircut like Daddy's, another dinosaur t-shirt, but always allowing the dolls and sparkly high heels. Some things will gnaw at you. Your oldest child, off to school now, surrounded by friends, but not quite fitting in with the girls or the boys, becoming more withdrawn, sneaking off to play with your makeup, then suddenly bursting with the weight of his secret. The world will stop for a moment when he tells you he needs to wear girls' clothes. The fact that it's a need will be evident to you with striking clarity. You'll find yourself adrift with questions. You'll be afraid of people who don't understand, kids who might bully, and yourself, afraid you'll get it all wrong. Labels will feel like a weight. Is this a girl? A boy who likes dresses? Gay? Transgender? Does it matter? This is what you need to do. Listen and support. Love and be open. Your child will amaze you by showing the world who she is by slowly, deliberately transforming herself. Hair long enough for pigtails, sparkly sneakers, declaring with the full, small weight of herself that she's a girl. When you're stumbling over new pronouns and words like sister or daughter, she'll bring you along by flinging these words proudly, like glitter. Seeing this child be her full self will cause your heart to ache with beauty. But when your child cries at times that she doesn't want to grow a beard, you'll cry a little too. When she asks, "Can I be a girl in high school too? What about when I'm grown up?" You'll say, "Of course. The doctors can help you." She'll trust you so fully, knowing you always keep her safe. But as always, you still need to keep watching for new dangers, this time in the form of bills. House bills, Senate bills. You'll feel under attack. You'll be under attack. The reality of what's at stake will be so horrifying that you'll find ways to speak out. You'll find ways to be stronger with the support of family and friends who have stepped up as allies and leaning on those who are leading the fight. Fight with your community, for your community, for your child. And as always, listen and support, love and be open.
My name is Emily. I am a student. I'm a hairstylist. I am deserving of love. I'm deserving of respect. And I am a trans woman. I grew up in a small town in the foothills of North Carolina called Kaiser. Growing up queer in a small town was definitely difficult. So I remember people in school like openly using slurs and walking down the hallway and being pushed around, and like on a school bus one time, this guy tried to catch my hair on fire. Having allies in your life as a young person makes your life less violent and safer. To speak bluntly, if I didn't have allies as a young person, I don't think I'd be alive today. A positive thing about being a queer person is we often make our own families. And house moms usually refers to a person, an elder in the community, sometimes a cis person, sometimes a trans woman, who takes in young people that are experiencing unstable housing or shelter and guides them. The reality is, in Charlotte, there are teenagers that are experiencing homelessness tonight that are unwelcomed or unsafe in other spaces.
They call me Mom or Miss Cat, and I know they think of me as a surrogate mother. I am not their birth mother or their mother they were raised with by any means, and I do not try to take that away from that family, but I am here for them.
My name is Catherine. My pronouns are she, her, and mom, and I am an ally in the community, and I'm an ally in my house. To me, it just means that your personal belongings are safe in my house. I will not throw them away. I will not destroy them. They will be here when you need them, and you're safe with me.
It was late January, the 22nd of 2022, that I came to live with Catherine, and it was just a misunderstanding with my parents and my family. I was in a really, definitely darker and unstable place at that time. I mean, I didn't have a phone, I didn't have any money. I just left. She very quickly just kind of like immersed me and incorporated me into the family and made me feel at home. She's in a lot of ways been like a mother to me. She would take me to my doctor's appointments, or she took me to my eye exam.
Next on our list is the dentist. Just things that a mom typically helps with their children. We do have other kids that come in and out but don't typically spend the night, but just need a place to hang. I try to love them like my own, because I love my own children unconditionally.
I love my parents, and it's really normal for teenagers to, you know, have falling outs and big feelings. I mean, I talk to my mom every day now. It's honestly pretty scary to think where, if I didn't have Catherine's place to go to, because like I'd made the decision to leave home, but at the same time, it didn't feel like an option at the time. I would hope that I wouldn't be dead, but I mean, I don't know.
And then my siblings, siblings live in other states. Hey,
Hi,
sweetie.
I love you.
I love you.
Thank you for everything you've done for us as a family and everyone in the LGBT community, and being an ally, just being such a sincere ally.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just being your mom, that's all.
Ever since I came to live underneath your warm and loving home, my storm inside has settled down. Before knowing and loving you and your family, my everyday was nothing but confusion, painful, and mindless. I was lost inside my mind. You understood my broken soul and loved me for who I am, the best house mother I could ask for.
She
just is a walking example of love every day. I think that the best way to carry out being an ally is really seeing love as a verb and seeing that it's an action.
It was just that they needed a safe spot, and I had it, so why not?
I help locate and secure housing for our LGBTQ plus community, ages 18 to 24. Do try to partner with apartment complexes, private landlords, anyone that's willing to work with us to secure housing. We have some people that are referred to us, and a lot of it is hearsay. We have a lot of young people come in and say, hey, we looked you up on Google, we heard about a youth center that specializes in LGBTQ. We also provide supportive services here at the center, like counseling services. We have access to our Life Essentials closet. The young people also have access to showers and laundry services. And then we also help connect our young people to outside community resources. Very important, we're dealing with people's livelihoods, and a lot of young people don't have the resources or the capability to make it on their own. My name is Dorel. I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a caseworker, I'm a housing coordinator, I'm a fashion stylist, and I'm gay.
The day after we were married, I was in my car taking my sister's, and she says, you know, so does it really feel different? And I said, it does, and this is why. I said, I have always had to go in, whether it was to a bank or the vet or the hospital or you name it, and ask that we be treated as a couple.
I had thought it would be fun to get married, but we also believed that we would be deceased before we could do so in the Carolinas.
It was 1992, and I had just joined One Voice Chorus. And One Voice Chorus is a gay and lesbian chorus, and allies now. I walked in the first night, and I said, where do the altos sit? And somebody pointed a seat next to Sally.
I had come out of not so good relationship, so I was a little bit leery, and told her when she first started expressing an interest that I was going to live with Maggie the dog forever, and that was it.
We both made each other laugh.
And it was kind of, was not love at first sight. It was a gradual kind of thing where we became friends, and then we just realized how much we loved each other.
So it was 1992. We were in Denver for the Gay and Lesbian Association of Choruses Quadrennial Festival. Rick was the American Sign Language interpreter for the Columbus Gay Men's Chorus. And so he was interpreting for them on stage, and I was in the audience and was just bowled over by his artistry. And so we talked for a few moments, and I think I just wowed him with my Southern accent. So
He says, I'm sure I've taken too much of your time. And I said, no, there's plenty of that.
I had thought it would be fun to get married, but we also believed that we would be deceased before we could do so in the Carolinas. I got a call from Linda, and we're both on our way home, and she said, the IRS just came down with the IRS just came down with a ruling that if you're married in any state, you can file jointly. And she said that would save us money. So do you want to get married when we're in Connecticut? I was so touched by that. I was so touched by that romantic approach to asking me to marry her. I could hardly stand it. So
very pragmatic.
I mean, you know.
Well, and she's right. We thought we'd be dead before we could get married in North Carolina. When I saw the ruling in 2015, I said, "Oh my God, we're legal."
We sat on the couch and said, "Do you want to get married now?" It was really not very romantic at all.
It wasn't. It was, yes. So it wasn't a big proposal
Yeah, didn't
or
get down on
down
one
on
knee
me,
or-
because then he wouldn't be able to get back up. And so, the day after we were married, I was in my car taking my sister's, and she says, so does it really feel different? And I said, it does, and this is why. I said, I have always had to go in, whether it was to a bank or the vet or the hospital or you name it, and ask that we be treated as a couple. And it was always on bended knee. And so now, I already felt that next day when I walk into a business or any place and they ask for something, I say, well, this is my husband. It's no longer do I have to ask to be treated as a couple.
There will be rough times. The rough times do not necessarily mean you have to break up.
It's important to have trust. It's important to have good communication.
I think of marriage as being three-dimensional. You have ups and downs, but you also have times when you're closer and further apart. And the thing is not to let this get too far or to dwell in the down parts. Because as he says, this too shall pass. The bus keeps moving down the road.
I think it's really simple is just don't get off the bus. Just knowing that I've got John, and for him to know that he's got me through everything that we've gone through or put each other through is worth the time and effort it took to get here. That to know that there is a rock solid base that no matter what, we can always come back together and say, this is not where we're getting off the bus.
I am a law student, a social justice advocate, and a clarinetist. I really enjoy being social. I enjoy getting to know people. At the end of my 8th grade year, going into 9th grade, and I just started noticing that I was pretty miserable, and I wasn't sure why. People noticed that I wasn't myself, that I was just moving slower. I distinctly remember that we had a non-binary person come to our Genders and Sexualities Alliance, and when I met this person, I felt like I could relate to someone. My parents are Jamaican, and in Jamaica, these kinds of dialogues don't happen. And so when I came out to them, there was a lot of apprehension, a lot of fear.
We have parents who come to us saying, I think my kid might be somewhere in the LGBTQ community, but they're not ready to come out to me yet. How do I make sure that they feel comfortable? It's really important to let people tell you who they are on their terms and on their timeline. These small gestures that take a minimal amount of effort on the part of allies really go a long way to signal to folks in your life that you are a safe place. It can look like, suggesting that you watch a TV show that you know has positive LGBTQ representation, putting a rainbow pin or a pride flag pin on your ID badge, or adding your pronouns to your email signature. Ally isn't a label that you get to give yourself. It's one that is earned.
I feel very fortunate that most of my journey has been marked by nothing but acceptance. There wasn't a single person at this school that I can remember that was anything less than supportive. I heard the phrase a lot growing up that it gets better, and I think when I kept hearing the phrase it gets better, I don't know that I believed it. I think it's really important for people to know that there is a life where they can too be happy and be resilient and be all of who they are. making sure you do your own homework on what is what. It's good to ask people, you know, individualized questions, but not general questions for the whole LGBTQ plus community, because we don't all know everything about every single person.
I used to tell my friends I thought drag was just a little too gay for me at the time. I wasn't that feminine, quote unquote, but then I ended up loving it, and for the last 4 years I've been doing it professionally. Hi, I'm Emery Sloan. I'm a Christian, I'm a son, I'm a friend, and I'm a drag queen. Drag is just basically performance art. It's just, you know, someone dressing up in character, getting on a stage, or, you know, wherever they are and becoming like a different character. Drag just gives me such a boost of confidence that I don't have when I'm not in drag. I used to tell my friends I thought drag was just a little too gay for me at the time. I wasn't that feminine, quote unquote, but then I ended up loving it, and for the last 4 years I've been doing it professionally. I used to work for a bank, and I quit my corporate job to do drag full time. I remember when I came out and my mom was like, okay, whatever, she's fine with it, but she's like, just don't dress up like a woman. And now, all these years later, my mom and my family are my biggest supporters. She's always said that the love of her child is the only thing that matters. So my mom truly does love and support me. And I just think it takes time for people, especially like parents, to just educate themselves a little bit on it. I'm Erica Chanel. I'm a son, I'm a Christian, I'm a friend, I'm gay, and I'm a drag queen.
At PFLAG, we like to say that we lead with love. And so what that means is asking them how and if they need and want to be supported.
Better days are coming. Better days are coming soon.
So it's not making assumptions about what you think they need or what you would want in that situation, but really coming from a place of love and empathy and wanting to understand how we can best support them.